Welcome to the Rugby Bits podcast. My name is Thala and I am back on the hosting chair. I'm joined by Shaun and Kooks, and as unfortunately happens with us for Rugby Bits people, we can't all be in the same place at the same time, but we have a lot of rugby to go through. We have week 4 of the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup. We have our last 16 matches set up, and we're going to talk through all of that and see and talk about especially how the South African teams performed this weekend. But as always, we do start with our first phase, which is an interesting one of where you had to try to make a combined 15 with actual club combinations. So you had to, and you could only use one club or franchise once. So you'd have to go one front row, one combination front row, one of the locks, one of the loosies, one of the halfbacks, one of the midfield, and one of the back three. So Shaun, I would assume that you, since you came up or you posted this one, you would have the one and probably the best one out of all of us.
I definitely didn't. Hi, everybody. I most certainly didn't. There was a couple. I posted one on our chat today. I think it was Andre Hill, which Thala, I'll let you jump on later. Andre's one was brilliant. Mine, I just wanted to get it going, and I was kind of faffing watching rugby on the couch and then putting it together. So I didn't put the best one together, but that just allows everyone else to do better. But the one thing that I was trying to do and I couldn't do it for some reason, and then I forgot to do it. But my front row, one of the best front rows and one of the front rows that I love and wish I could have seen more of was the Northampton Saints front row of Mujati, Hartley, and Tonguhua, who played in the Premiership and played in the Champions Cup. Those three as a front row were beasts. And I can't remember why I didn't, because I initially put them in and then I had another Saints, and then you know what it's like when you put these things together, you kind of chop and change and you're like, oh, I've doubled up somewhere, let me remove something. And then you end up changing the whole thing. So yeah, I didn't put the best one in, but we got some absolutely brilliant ones.
Indeed, we did, Shaun, and you have preempted, I think, some of them already. So let us go first to Andre Hill's one that you just mentioned, which...
Oh, straight to first place, eh?
We'll have to see what the standard is, I think. So he has a front row from the Stormers with Kitsolf, Dweber, and Malherbe. His locks are from Saracens, which is Itoje and Hugh Tizard. His loose forwards are from Leicester. I'm sure Kooks will love this. Liebenberg, Tommy Turnover, and Jasper Wiese. 9 and 10 from the Crusaders, Drummond and Richie Monga. And Ulster, the midfield, which is Stuart McCloskey and James Hume. And then the back three from La Rochelle, which is Raw, Lates, and Brice Dulin. I count at least 6 players that I absolutely really, really like. And that you can't really beat that.
It's brilliant though. Like, it's probably not first choices if you're looking at like World 15s and stuff like that. Like, you'd probably want to change a few here and there. But in terms of putting that together, just also the way it looks, the balance and how they look like they could probably perform together, I think would be brilliant. Imagine Itoje, Liebenberg, Reffel, and Wiese all together, because Itoje is an additional flanker as well. Like, it's madness. And then you've got Dweber and Kitsolf dominating too. It's childish.
Yeah, I think that those combinations, just the backline as well, having Wonga play with Hume and McCloskey as well is just actually sickening. I think we'll talk about the other few, but let's bring Kooks onto this. Kooks, yeah, I think this may be an idea you can steal for the SA20, where you can put on an opening pair, middle order, lower order, and the bowlers together from the different teams.
Listen, I'm going to steal this idea and then I'm going to trademark it so I can get all the fun going straight into the rugby with account, just to make sure that just to make sure that we get all the royalties for this. But I tried to go obviously current teams as well. I see Shaun tried to go all time. I went front row or the Stormers front row with obviously Kitsi, Dweba, and Malherba. And then I said locks, I went the Bulls and Vermaak and Nokia. Loose trio, I went Crusaders in Matera, Grace, and Christie. And then halfbacks, I mean, it's Toulouse. It's kind of hard not to go against the DuPont and Tamak. And then centers, I went Leinster and Henshaw and Ringrose. And then the back three is same as the Andre Kiel with La Rochelle.
Yes, that's dangerous, man. Oh.
No, I don't think there's any wrong answers here. So I'll read out a few from our dirt trackers. We have Ndaba with his combination. He has the Sharks front row, which is Ox, Bungi, and Thomas Dutoy. The Leinster locks, which is interesting. James Ryan and Jason Jenkins. Bulls Lucy's with Eskom, and then Alchlo and Nizam Kar. And then the halfbacks, he has the Toulouse pair of DuPont and Tamak. Exeter midfield with Ollie DeVote and Henry Slade. That's a bit of a throwback, I think. And then the back three from the Stormers, which is Zas, Blommetjies, and Damien Willemse. I guess Clayton Blommetjies is playing 14 in this, but the nice thing with the Stormers, you can probably pick about 4 or 5 players with the likes of Davids, Hartzenberg, and Sinatla also in that back three. So that's quite a serious team there.
It's a proper side. I love your comment about the Stormers. You're right. I think you can pick up, there's how many guys can play in the back that you would probably throw Mine Pocket fullback if needs be.
Yeah, and Sasha Ngomazulu can also do a job there at the back. Let's go 3 on low, friend of the show. He has the La Rochelle front row instead of the back three, which is Priso, Bugarit, and Antonio, which is close to one of the best scrums and front row scrummagers in the world. Then Willemse and Janse van Rensburg get from Montpellier. The Lions, of course, Rian's a big Lions fan. He has Creel, Whiteley, and Tecklenburg, which is more of a throwback, I guess. Then Paul de Vet and Manny Lebouk at halfback. The midfield of Nonu and Conrad Smith. Nonu and Conrad Smith are probably the standard of midfields throughout the course of time. And then I think a bit of the streets won't forget back three, which with Digby Ioane, John Lance, and Rocket Rock Davies. I think that's definitely for people of a certain generation, one of the best loose back threes you can pick.
2011 Super Rugby champs.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, the back three.
You can't go wrong with Rocket Rod Davies. Incredible nickname. Incredible nickname.
That guy had gas to burn. But gas to burn, it was ridiculous. I thought he'd be around for a lot longer. He did make a little comeback. But in terms of the back three, it was a tough one between that Reds option.
That's not we'll argue for that.
Yeah, that's true. The back three was a throw up between that Reds one. It was a toss up, but then the other one, which came back, which is a throwback, but is the Hurricanes back three of Lomu on the left, Christian Cullen at fullback, and Tana Umang on the right.
Yeah.
Now there's a back three. Imagine that with the Nonu and Smith midfield.
Now that's actually disgusting. You can't do something like that.
And then Gregan Larkham 9-10.
Yeah. Actually, it's the nice thing with some of these combinations is that they both obviously legendary combinations in domestic and international rugby. So Gregan Larkham, Nonu Smith, like two of like the strong combinations. In modern times, I guess you can say Henshaw and Ringrose are probably not legendary yet, but a very good combination that goes from club rugby to international rugby too.
Yeah, 100%. And then, so Gareth,
yeah, no, chat, because I wanted to highlight one that Gareth Hunter sent through.
I was going to say, yeah, you're all right. I mean, then you look at someone like DuPont and Tamaku have the potential to be in that Gregan, Larkham, if they carry on the momentum that they've started with at the moment. So it's
club
interesting for these combinations. Too, yeah, 100%, club and country. I mean, they already won in Europe, so now it's transitioning to the World Cup. I mean, Larkham, Gregan won Super Rugby and World Cup together as a combination. So those two just kind of need to win a World Cup now.
Yeah, that's That's amazing. Thala, are you, sorry, I thought that we were wrapping that up. That's why when I saw Gareth's one, but you must please talk about it because that's another great back three.
I think I'll go through just two more. So Gareth Hunter's one, a bit of more of a throwback. This is closer to an all-time one. Front row, talking about front rows that play together at test level. The old Sharks front row of Beast Bismarck and Yanni du Plessis. Second row from the Bulls of Buckies and Victor Madfield. Loose forwards. Not sure if this is accurate because I don't think Matt, Todd, McCaw and Reed actually played that much together. I think they had, maybe more of someone like Taufua playing at 6, but no, that's a conversation for another day. Halfbacks, Bregan and Larkham. Centers, Nana and Umaga. Outside backs. Actually, also another one. I'm not sure if they played together. Joe Rokethoko, Rubeni Thathau, and Doug Howlett. Do they play together?
Oh, we're just going to have to say yes.
We will say yes.
So I don't think they did. But Rupini, Tathani Booker, I'm just so glad he made it on. Like, that's ridiculous. When I saw this, it almost gave me bad memory. But do you remember the carnage and the thoughts, the fear that Rokethoko put into Springboks whenever he was named to play against them? He always was that guy for me that, no matter what was happening in the game, like he could wiggle around somewhere and go beat someone and score. It was effortless against the Springboks from him. I hated it.
100%. Thank goodness that Fred Dupree decided to end his career in 2009. But it took us so long to realize he could catch a high ball, like 50 tests later.
Slow learning.
Pick one, Kooks. Does the Howlett curse work in these combined 15s?
Of course it does, Thala. The Howlett curse is reigning strong. Will Jordan better watch himself.
And then let's go to Jared's one. Also, pretty much the same front 8 from the previous one, but with the Villiers and Fourie from the Stormers. Remember when Jacques Fourie came to the Stormers and that sometimes they would also put in Juan de Jong in the same back line. That was crazy. And then the back three of Habana, Mitchell, and Halfpenny. Francisco Isaac has a bit of a different one with the front row from Racing, which is Goga Giashvili, Shatnan, and Trevin Yakane. Actually, I don't think they've been doing too well they haven't really won in the Champions Cup, but they haven't been doing too well in general. Then Ospreys second row of Beard and Alan Wynne-Jones. The Leinster back three of Conan, Doris, and Van der Fleer. Dupont and Tamak. And then the midfield of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Nico Ioane. That's definitely for Shaun. And then the back three from the Crusaders, Severis, Lester Fainganuku, and Will Jordan. So I don't know if that back three is going to get any ball if they have Rico Ioane at midfield, though.
We need to block him. Who sent that? Let's block. We can send a message saying, listen, I apologize, you have been blocked, and the reason why you're blocked is because you picked Rico at 13. Thank you and good night. Maybe put him on like a month cooling off period or something.
Hashtag justice for Rico Ioane. And then I'll just wrap up with my one. I went with the Toulouse front row of Bai Marchant and Famuina, Crusaders locks of Scott Bratton and Sam Whitelock, Leicester Lucy's, the Toulouse halfbacks, the Len. Oh, okay. I actually did this. Now I remember I did this with because I saw that this tweet came up from a few years ago, but I did it with like multiple combinations, unfortunately. So I repeated on
Thala.
Toulouse and Leinster. I'm sorry, okay?
Disappointing.
I was ahead of the curve, but I didn't know the rules. But yeah, it was one of those like...
I want to hear the rest of it.
Well, okay, so it was Toulouse that's halfback, centre with the Leinster, Henshaw and Ringrose, and then the back three was Fainganuku, Rees, and Jordan. It was, I think Daniel Gallen was asking, what's the best possible 15 you can make from different combinations, which is a little bit different to the question that you asked, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I tell you, Ringrose is playing some incredible rugby at the moment.
Oh my goodness, he's playing so well.
Ever since Tyler said that he's not the next O'Driscoll, then Ringrose has gone on his way to prove him wrong. I don't think I understand.
Insert Michael Jordan gif where it says, "I took that personally."
Every Irish player that we've abused on this podcast, they've turned into superstars. Remember when Jared was a big Van der Flair dig, and then he goes up and he's the world player of the year. Now Ringrose is carving it up, guys. We need to stop attacking Irish players because we fuel the fire.
So Ringrose is ridiculous at the moment.
You're saying nice things about Ireland from now on.
Exactly.
Listen, Thala, I don't know if you watched the Toulouse game last night. Did you see Cyril Bow get absolutely folded? I've never seen a prop get bent so badly. I thought he might have been. Mate, flip, man. I can't remember who it was now.
Was it not Coombs?
No. Folded in the scrum.
Oh, okay.
Mate, he was flipped back where his legs and lower half of his body was still facing forward to scrum, but his chest was looking up at the sky like he was folded into a U. I must find the clip for you. It was ridiculous. I've never in my life. I said I've never seen him get monstered in a scrum, but I don't think I've ever seen a prop, no matter how good or bad, get done like that. So I'd love to know what happened. That's obviously not an area many people know too much about, and that's me included.
Well, if BJ Botha was to come onto the pod and explain those things to us, he's definitely more than welcome to. I think let's transition now to the Champions Cup as we're speaking about it. And in the final round of the group stage has happened, and we now have our last 16 of both the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup. We're not going to go through each and every one of the results. We'll talk about some of the last 16 matchups that we have, but we're going to focus on the South African teams first. We'll start with the team that played on Friday, which was the Bulls. They went away to Lyon and they brought, some of, Willem Strauss's like cousins and, people that are related to Jake White's brother, his wife, and all that sort of stuff to the team. I'm completely joking, but they definitely did bring a bit of a mix of the first and the second team there. And they played like a third team, to be honest. But Lyon took care of them quite easily, 31 points to 7. There was a bit of a threat that the Bulls would not qualify for the last 16 because of this result, but things still went their way, and they have booked themselves a nice trip to Toulouse in the last 16. But Shaun, just in terms of the game, I'm not too sure if there's anything really to talk about from a Bulls perspective. Just they didn't really seem too interested about the result, to be honest.
Yeah, I unfortunately couldn't pick up the game live, but it's one of those times where it's a lose the battle to win the war kind of situation. Is the only way you can justify what's going on. I think it's more about Jake White's building up squad depth. He's managing players. I know that he kind of got egg on his face when he did it in the URC and came back and took a pasting from the Stormers. But it would be more along those lines. I'm very interested to see how they deal with Toulouse away in the next round, which is only at the end of March. So I'm not sure what'll happen there. I hope they send a full strength side, but I could easily see them not. To beat Toulouse at the Ernest Wallon is going to be something quite. It's going to take something quite special, especially because they're hunting another star. So, yeah, in terms of the result, not great. I think everyone climbing into the Bulls is probably. I think it's more of a passion complaint. Like they're passionate about the Bulls and they want the Bulls to win everything because South Africans want to win everything, and we slowly need to get into the idea of we're going to have to sacrifice a few things along the way. Sometimes the youngsters will do well, sometimes they won't. This is they won't time, but in the future it'll bear fruit, I believe.
100%, Shaun. I think it's one of those things where they may have lost the battle, but they've won the war. But I just think just looking at the game, like just in a vacuum, it's just not fun to see the Bulls get dominated like that, especially up front. And it's just like you kind of think that. That's sort of excuse the pun, but it's the blueprint they sort of have that whatever side they do play, at least you'd expect they pack sort of stand up and not just get drilled like that. And watching Lyon almost have their way with them was like, it did feel like what like a third team was playing. And no, who knows with Jake? I mean, when he gets back, I mean, they could send that same side to Toulouse. Yeah, we don't know, but I just don't want to see them. It's kind of fun, like they just rolled over and sort of let Lyon have their way, especially up front. I mean, I know the Bulls better not be rugby now, but I mean, I can't remember seeing a Bulls pack just lifeless. Felt like.
And Lyon are a side that you'd look at and you'd expect the Sharks, the Stormers, and the Bulls to win home and away. They're good. They're not great. I don't think Thala, your amazing setup of how you categorize things in tiers. I think Lyon would probably be in that third tier, so they're definitely beatable home and away. So the Bulls fans and South African fans will definitely look at that going, their massive points were given away and they should have been taken. But that's, as you say, when you look at it independently without the bigger picture,
Yeah, and I guess the big thing is that they had an opportunity to host at least the last 16 game, and they pretty much took it away from themselves by just. And it's not like the team was actually that weak. I mean, there were some players that were sort of strategically rested or put off, or they're coming off the bench, like the Jan Kroblers and Ron Kiers. But it just seemed like from first minute that there is almost two teams, that there is the Bulls that played Loftus, who are absolutely unbeatable. And then there's the traveling Bulls, who are, just a little bit of a different version of themselves, and they can't really get into a game and really get that power game going. So, especially with the conditions.
The traveling wool, the Woolburys. I completely pooed that. I tried to get the Woolburys in, but with the bull, but I've completely destroyed it.
I see what you're doing there. And look, I know,
thankfully.
I know Jake White's been complaining about the travel, and also just a note to say that we wish Jake White all the best with his recovery. I think from the last update that was made, he's going to probably come back in early Feb, and he's had a successful surgery after having a little bit of an issue with some stomach cramps, but all good for him, and it seems like he's going to be back to full fitness very soon. So yeah, maybe it also was in factor that they didn't have their head coach traveling with them in this trip, so that also took away some of their steam. But yeah, so this weekend will be a big weekend for the Bulls in terms of their URC prospects. They're playing the Scarlets. It's a winnable game. It's probably the last game that we'll see Kurtley Arendse for sure, but maybe even the likes of the people that are that tier below in the Springbok setup, like the Aura Flows and the Johan Goossens and the Ronald Tiers. They also might be rotated and rested for the domestic derbies. So the Bulls probably need a nice win there against Scarlets if they want to maybe still keep up with the Stormers, or just secure their positioning in the top 4 for the URC. But Kooks, let's start with you. You did mention that the Bulls are facing Toulouse in their last 16 games, so they're playing them away. Yeah, there's not too much you can say about that. Toulouse are probably one of the most informed teams in the competition. And you playing them at home. What hope do the Bulls have in terms of beating them? Can they do a miracle at Toulouse like they did in Dublin last year against Leinster?
Yeah, well, it depends which Blue Bulls team rocks up. I think that's been the theme of their season this year. Like, they have not been able to sort of show the consistency they showed, I would say, this time last year. I mean, it's hard to write them off. I think, like, if their pack is playing well, they'll need to play well, because the Toulouse pack is it's an incredible pack. So that's my biggest hope for the Bulls. I mean, we've seen them go to Dublin and make things very uncomfortable for Leinster, and I think they can do the same to Toulouse. And not, you've got to find a way to disrupt Dupont to sort of getting back into some good form. I know Toulouse they're very much in form now, but I mean, like, Dupont and Tomako, he's coming from injury, but they weren't playing as well. But now they seem to be clicking into gear, and I think the Bulls have got to sort of try to find a way to turn them around. And but I do give them a chance. I just think if they are on it, and it's hard to write off Jake. He's almost also in that Eddie Jones phase. In one game, Jake, if he does have time to plan for you and put together a game plan, he can sort of come away from France with a win.
Shaun, I think I would say that maybe the Bulls aren't the best team. It's funny because they obviously historically are a big, team of bullies, but the Bulls today probably won't be looking forward to dealing with some of the big fours that Toulouse has. I mean, the likes of the Arnolds, the Miafus, the Bays, those sort of big boys that they're going to face up front. The Bulls just don't have the strength of the tight five that maybe the Sharks or the Stormers do.
Yeah, I'm going to straight out say that I don't think the Bulls have a chance of rolling them there. I think tactically they're probably a little bit better because they're a little bit more connected as a team, whereas the Bulls have been a little bit disrupted over last season and this season, disrupted in terms of almost having two teams. So I don't think I think the Bulls will be able to put up a little bit of a fight. The Bulls are, I think they're almost like a bull to a red flag. If big boys want to start running at them, they're like challenge accepted. So I don't think they'll be able to do it. And then you have the likes of Dupont and Ntamak and Gitoon and who else in the backs, Peter Aki, who I think will start if he's fit against the Bulls. I know that he's been in and out a little bit, but I think Peter Aki, their midfield is great as well. So I think the Bulls will probably try and front it up, but I agree. I think the Toulouse are probably 10-15% better up front alone, just with their pack.
Yeah, so the big match for the Bulls coming up against Scarlets, and then we'll go into the small break, and then we'll go into our home derbies in the URC, and then they are looking forward to playing Toulouse at the end of March. So let's move to our next South African team, which are the Sharks. They lost quite an entertaining game and at the Stoop against Harlequins, 39 points to 29. Kooks, I think there's only one place to start with this game, which is the Eben Etzebeth try and his protest against the Caterpillar Ruck.
Yeah, I love. It's one way it's a one way to stop the Caterpillar Ruck, but it's such a hard law to ref. I think as Jeremy Flannery was having a go at saying that the ref tends to sort of be the one that says the ball is out, or the players will ask the ref and say, "Listen, ref, is the ball out? Can we play?" Sort of thing, and it's such a it is such a hard law because some refs interpret the ball being out when the 9 is his hands on the ball. Some refs will be like the 9's hands on the ball, but the ball's not out. So I think Etzebeth did it well. I do know for a fact that not many people were going to argue against him, but Etzebeth do the shit size of the man. So I do think that I think that could be the way to stop these Caterpillar Rucks, but it's just going to be. I think now with what Eben Etzebeth did, it's going to be. I'm interested to see how it's going to be officiated moving forward. And is that going to be the norm, or is the law going to change, or are the refs going to say to players, ball's out, you can come for it? Or because they used to do the whole thing of you have 5 seconds to get the ball out, but like I feel like I don't know if the refs don't know how to count anymore, or as that rule just faded away. But no one knows whatever the whole 5-second rule.
Yeah, that does my head in, man. I've been waiting patiently for these law variations or these updated mandates to come into play with the kick clock and all that, which I'm still waiting for. I'm a little bit disappointed, I won't lie. In terms of there's two things. One, and I've been a little outspoken about it on Twitter, is I hate the refs coaching. And we've got into a nasty habit of the refs coaching. Like, for instance, when the refs don't pre-bind, don't pre-latch. When there's like a 5-meter tap and go, they're like, just be careful not to pre-latch. And at the end of the game, the refs like, don't kick the ball out on the full. You must tap it and kick it out, and then the game will be over. Like stuff like that does my head in. So that whole the balls out situation is a bit of a tricky one for me, because often if you allow players to do it at their own discretion without the ref saying anything, they'll get pinged. What good I will say out of this is that is the new TMO mandates and rules around whatever the TMOs are supposed to be doing in officiating and managing the laws and all that sort of jazz is a perfect example of how it was used there. The referee allowed things to play on, and then they were able to come back and have a look at it. And I think we're in a better place. People don't want to hear the TMOs talking and blah, 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 but there's so much happens while in play where the referee and the TMO are communicating about high shots and stuff like that, where we have less stoppages. And I think it's great. In terms of the actual events, I think as much as Eben Etzebeth is always talking to the ref, always trying to figure out when it's out, what's going on, he really is like he's like a dog chasing a ball around that area. He's big and strong, but he's also tall. So he adds a lot of value there. The thing for me is that is more for me, that is a great piece of Sharks play. The counter ruck came in, which forced, I can't remember who it was, from Quins to brace, and that pulled them away from Joe Marler, which essentially broke his bind, because he was bound before that counter ruck. The second that happened and Marler's bind breaks, and his hand is still on the player, but his bind breaks when his shoulder leaves the player. The second that happened, Etzebeth went in, and he went in hard. And just the way he did it, how he managed his body position, his footwork, etc., etc. Add to the fact that Danny Kerr probably should have tackled him. I mean, we all know he should have. But I mean, a lot of players are complaining at the refs. It happens often where it gets blown and not. But I thought the ref did really well to let it play on, check the TMO, and then sort it out after that.
Shaun, you mentioned a kick count, or like say a ruck count at ruck time. I don't know, on Aussie guys something. When is what would be the right amount of time? Let's say, would it be 5 seconds or say 10 seconds per ruck? And when would it start? Do you start it as the guy gets tackled, or do you start it as the ruck is formed, where the contest is where the contest is sort of over, where it's no longer a guy trying to steal guy and a guy trying to clean? When would you start that clock, and where essentially how long would it be?
I would like, as soon as the ball is available for the 9, I would like the ref to call the 9 to use it. And I'm happy with 5 seconds. I think the managing that 5 seconds is vital. And I would like to see that call made a little bit sooner. So what's got to happen is the referee and the touch judges the assistant referees need to be managing that offside line. So hopefully the ARs can do that, and then the ref can then focus on that ball, because there's a lot of contesting happen. So I don't think you can make that call like when the tackle is made, the ball must come out. It could be 3 seconds where the 9 gets clean ball. It could be 8 seconds if there's a big counter ruck going on, and the attacking team have to work harder to make sure it's clean. But as soon as the scrum half is in a safe, like a good stable position to be able to collect and pass the ball, the ref should be calling it. So that'll speed up things dramatically, especially with guys. We've got a lot of players that do have an incredible after tackle ball placement and reach. And then one man comes in, and that then they can use it to call. The only issue that I see arising from that is when a player's tackled and he's got a good long reach, and you've got one man in there selecting the ruck, forming the ruck, and the ball is available for the 9, then if the other team counter ruck, if they're isolated, then there might be a problem. But that is more of an incentive for the scrum half to get rid of it. So for me, it's when the ball is available, the referee needs to make that call, and I'm happy with 5 seconds. I think 5 seconds is a reasonable amount of time. It's just when do you start that 5 seconds?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting conversation there about how to manage these things. And unfortunately, the only problem with, I guess, that solution is for Shaun's dislike of coaching, that you have to have someone or the stadium or someone going 3-2-1 or 5-4-3-2-1 and counting down. But if you'd like to hear what Danny Kerr thinks, I can't wait for the drop of the next Rugby Union Weekly podcast, and I'm sure he'll have a lot of thoughts about Amushikedi, the referee.
Thala, sorry, there was a period. It was one round in the Premiership. I saw it. I distinctly remember. Distinctly, I'm doubting myself, but I'm sure it was Matthew Carley in the Premiership that it happened. He did it, and someone else did it, where they're like, use it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The referee was saying that, and that forced the scrum halves to use it because they knew that they were being managed. The scrum halves often will kick on 6 seconds, maybe 5.5 seconds, but when the referee is counting it, and you can get it going, and once you start creating that expectation, and the scrum halves understand the time period between, I don't think it's crazy. The ref can count the seconds in his mind if he wants to. Listen, there's a very long time. 5 seconds is long. If the ref says use it, and then you still got to pull the ball back from a player in between a lock's feet to get the caterpillar a little bit longer and then kick it. I want to throw stuff at the TV, man. I'm like, you're taking the piss now. So, the ref can count it. I mean, I'd love him to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Imagine the shitstorm. But anyway, that's.
But also, For sure, there's a stage when some refs, when they were just the players would count for themselves. They'll just sort of, as the nine's about to kick, they'll just come around and they'll play the nine, and the ref would be like, well, the ball's out now. I was like, you guys are taking too long. So it's like, there was a 5-second count, and then like no one told us when it disappeared. They made a big fuss about it, and it just vanished. And now it's like the Caterpillar Rucks sort of crept back in. I don't know how they keep doing it, but someone needs to put an end to the Caterpillar. The Caterpillar can't keep sneaking back into world rugby. The
truth is if you manage, like my suggestion on how, when the ball is available for the 9, if you manage that properly as a ref, you'll actually reduce Caterpillar Rucks, because the ball will be available. You'll say, use it. And then he wants to put another guy in there and then roll the ball back. That'll reduce all of that. That's like 8-10 seconds long available. But the thing is like, sometimes guys want to slow the ball down and all that sort of stuff, and they want longer in their own half while they set up the exit and all that. But if the ball is available for the 9 and the ref calls use it and he counts your 5 seconds, your Caterpillar Ruck would have to be exceptionally good and quick in order to form it.
Yeah, we can call Eben Etzebeth the Caterpillar Crusher from now on. But then let's just talk quickly about the game. And I think, Shaun, the two stats that pretty much sum up why the Sharks lost on Saturday are turnovers won for Harlequins, 9 as opposed to 3, with Will Evans winning 3 of those turnovers, and penalties conceded. The Harlequins had 10 and the Sharks had 18. You can't win a game like that at all.
Flip, man, I didn't realize they conceded so much. That's massive. To be in with the shots of a game and concede 18 penalties is quite remarkable on its own. But you don't want to be doing that. In fairness, the Sharks side did look a little bit sluggish, or they didn't look their usual selves. So, the travel and the hot to cold temperatures for all the South African sides is most certainly affecting them. But I did expect a little bit more. They did manage to fortunately come away with enough points overall to be guaranteed home 16 and home quarterfinal, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, they're conceding that amount of penalties and having that many turnovers against you makes for hard rugby if you want to win the game.
Yeah, and I guess another factor was that the Sharks had quite a few injuries in their backline. So no Ron Janse van Rensburg, Makazole Mapimpi was suspended, Werner Kok was not available, and Boeta Chamberlain didn't travel as well. So there were probably 3 or 4 backline players, you could say, weren't even in the Sharks backline a month ago, either through injury like Lukhanyo or they weren't being played, the likes of Marnus Potgieter and Pakia Abrahams. So I guess there was And I think with the first few tries, the backline tries from Harlequins, you could see that those combinations weren't quite communicating, that the Tapuai and Abraham's combination didn't really do too well in that try that I think it was Murley that scored it in the corner in the first half.
Just a little off topic a little bit, but can we just take a moment to talk about Potgieter and his form at the moment? He's cooking. I must be honest, I didn't see him as a winger. I really, when he first came on, he played in the midfield, and I thought he doesn't really look too quick, but he's quick and he fights hard. He's in some sublime form, and Jaden Hendricks as well. So that is one positive for the Sharks.
Yeah, and I'd also add Pelele Fassi coming back into the starting berth and playing, like
yes.
Pelele Fassi does. So he had great stats in the game. Marnus Potgieter had 88 meters and 5 defenders beaten. Fassi had 52 meters and 4 defenders beaten, and they both scored a try. Marnus Potgieter also bouncing Danny Kerr. Just a horrible day at the office for Kerr, given that it was his 350th match.
350, yes.
For Harlequins, it's crazy, but the Sharks showed him no sympathy during the course of the game. So I guess, and Kooks, I can bring it to you. I think there was actually positives with the Sharks' attack on Saturday. They did score 4 tries. They were looking like they could break open the Harlequins' defense when they wanted to. It's just ill-discipline costed them at the end of the day.
100%. But before I had him to that, I wanted to say, I was going to say Danny Kerr, he had a rough day in the office, but he's played 350 games. Surely people cannot still be falling for that show and go from the base. I was like, God, this guy's been doing this his whole career. I was so annoyed when he scored the try. Like, it's Danny Kerr. You know he's going to do it at least once a game. Like if you're standing guard, like Bishop was Danny Kerr. If you're sleeping, Danny Kerr is going to get you. That's why he's got 350 caps for the Harlequins. But yeah, I think there were a lot of positives for the Sharks. I think the attack has sort of has lifted a whole notch since obviously with Bosch at 10 and pity Ron Winslow wasn't playing yesterday. It'd been very nice to see him and Estes go head to head. I thought Estes was very good on Saturday. But I think there was a positive with the Sharks. I think I feel like they're heading in the right direction, especially with ball in hand. They sort of look like they know what they tend to do and what they're trying to create. And I think to go to the Stoop and just put 29 points. It's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, that's one of the best in England last year. And the thing is, unfortunately though, if you're gonna go into a shootout with Harlequins, you can't give away 18 penalties because they will hurt you. And Harlequins seem to thrive more in a 39-29 ball game than a 6-6 sort of game anyway.
Yeah, we'll talk about Harlequins in a moment when we talk about their last 16 opponent, but the Sharks are going to face Munster and Durban. So obviously Munster, URC team, and Munster are already building up some form. Shaun, a month ago, that would be quite an easy game for the Sharks probably, but now it's quite dangerous.
Yes, Munster are really looking good. I'll tell you who it was. It was Ryan at tight head that crushed Cyril Ball. But yeah, I tell you, Munster are looking very handy. They did lose Haley, who's very important for them. He's in sublime form at 15. And the other thing is Malachi Fekitoa hasn't delivered for Munster what people expected of him. And against Toulouse yesterday, he did. There were a couple of injuries. Jack Crowley was at 12. He then moved to 15 with Haley being injured. And they put Fekitoa at 12 and Anton Frisch, who's also having a brilliant, brilliant season. They moved him, Frisch stayed at 13. So the things for Munster are coming good. There's combinations that are happening. Tagburn was phenomenal. Peter O'Mahony was his usual self. Hodnet is really, really good. So they have a decent squad. They have players on form, and they have the Champions Cup bug more than we do. They want to prove a point more than the South African sides just because of the history and because they've always been living in Leinster's shadow.
And then, Kooks, just from your side, I think what's the one thing that the Sharks can do to Munster that they can't really stop?
I think the Sharks' physicality, especially if you're adding Roddy and Etzebeth, I think that's going to be a massive threat. That sort of, his ability to get the Sharks goal forward ball, frees up Cohen Bosch, and obviously, Lukhanyo is looking sharp again. But I think that's, if you Leinster, that's the biggest one. And obviously the pack. I think, if you Munster, I think Munster, that's the biggest concern is the Sharks pack and the overall physicality. So I do think it's going to be one of the ties of the tournament. And Munster, I really do enjoy them because it does feel like it's a bit of a project, and they are trying to play a little bit more ball in hand rugby with them obviously changing coaches at the end of last season. So it's nice to see it come to fruition. And like Shaun said, that what do they call it? I know on Twitter, it's football heritage, as we say, when it comes to the Champions League. I worry that Munster's Champions Cup heritage might come through, because in games like this sometimes is the defining factor in things like this. And thank goodness it's in Durban, as opposed to, it would have been tough times if it was in Limerick. Well, probably not Limerick, because if Ed Sheeran's playing, the game tends to get moved. So, but at least it'll be in Durban.
The Stormers had to move for a monster truck competition or monster truck show, so slow down. And Justin Bieber, who never pitched up.
Yeah, that's also true.
I tell you, the one thing I think you bang on in terms of the Sharks must be very grateful that it's been played at the Shark Tank, because Munster, I don't recall, have Munster played in Durban in the URC yet? I don't think they have, but they must have. They've obviously been to South Africa, but I don't think they've played in Durbs. But either way, I think the Sharks probably want it to be about 32 with about 140% humidity and perhaps a little bit of rain about. I don't know what your thoughts are, but we need to purposefully select the weather for when Munster pitch up, when the Sharks play.
Munster can take it from me. You don't want to be anywhere near Durban when it's when it's humid, and if it's their first time, just if it's their first time, what I'll do for them, I'll go take a dip in the sea. I mean, I think a little bit of equalize to sort of ease the tension before match day, and then.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh wait. Just one more note for the Sharks is that a certain RG Slayman might be coming back around that time. I mean, he's starting to train with the team, so it's not certain when he will actually come back. But 2 months from now, it's very much conceivable that he could be ready for the last 16 game.
Do you think the Sharks players are invited for a bra in the middle of the week when he gets back?
And a swim.
A swim and a bra, just like burn him now again.
He's been playing. He's been with the squad training for some time, and they did say that it would be, if I'm not mistaken, they said it would be at the end of Jan. That is the realistic time where they'd be able to say how long until he returns. So I'm fairly confident we'll see him in Feb. So there's a very good chance that he will make the trip down to Durban. That's me hoping and praying for South Africa's sake.
I was about to say you probably have a Bok hat on when you're trying to make that prediction more than a Munster hat.
There's nothing red. There's nothing red in that comment. It's all green and gold.
Yeah, but that probably will be one of the ties of the tournament of the last 16. That Munster team's going to look really strong. You've got the Burns and the Omanis and the Conor Murrays and all those people that have won big matches in Europe before. But let's move on to the Stormers and their match against Clermont on Saturday evening. They won 30 points to 16. Tough first half. Stormers Clermont actually was winning 6 points to 3 in the first half, and Stormers just couldn't get anything going, and their passes being dropped, and they just couldn't really get any momentum. And then a yellow card to Anthony Bellew just really changed everything for the Stormers, and they ran in 3 tries during that sin-binning period and ran away with the game. And also can call on the return of Evan Roos into the team that changed things as well.
On his birthday.
On his birthday as well, scoring a try from the rolling maul as well. Shaun, while you're here, the Stormers, yeah, I guess why you just pop into this conversation. I guess for the Stormers, the nice thing for them is they just are in that mode now where they just feel like they can win any game against any team, especially in Cape Town. It doesn't really matter how they play. They can really just turn on the quality for 10 minutes and take a game away from someone.
Yeah, and from a Champions Cup point of view, I think that's why everyone is calling the Stormers Quins game the game of the round, because we're hoping it's going to be like a 41-39 game, something like that. But the Stormers, yes, I again, this is one of the ones I missed. I was following it on the Ultimate Rugby app, and there was so much going on, and I kept chatting to a couple of guys that were watching. I was wondering what the hell's going on. Why does it seem so slow? What's happening? Are the Stormers not playing well? And it just seemed a little bit scratchy in the first half. But the beautiful thing about the Stormers is it takes so little for them to kick into gear. They don't need to continuously build a platform. They've got so much confidence and so much trust in the way they play and the players and the coaching staff and the game plan that if it doesn't go right, they stick to their ground basics. And when it goes right, they're like, cool, it's clearer now. You know, I can see clearly now that the rain has gone, and then they just absolutely just hit it with a big stick. So that is the one thing about them at home. They're great, and they have the ability to do that away from home too.
Sure, that was going to be my exact same take. I think the Stormers have sort of moved into that, that championship quality pedigree. I just feel like with quality sides, like give me a Leinster, like the Crusaders. I've seen the Crusaders do this so many times where they're able to be really good for about 20 minutes and then kill the game and then sort of survive on about gear 1, gear 2 for the rest of it. And the Stormers have done it so well this year where you look at that first off, I remember watching it, it's like understanding with the travel and things like that, but the Stormers sort of felt like they were stuck in gear 2, couldn't get going, but their ability to put together a quality 15 minutes, score 21 points, and then the game is done. And then sort of go back into that other gear, sort of just ride the wave and just make sure they finish the game without too much fuss, not too much hurry. And I think it's so wild to me because you go back to a year ago, we were talking about the Stormers when obviously they saw the momentum, but this is where we didn't know which Stormers side we're going to get now. It sort of feels when you watch the Stormers play, at not one stage against Clermont do you feel like they were going to lose that game. They weren't playing great, but you're like, oh, these guys they've got 15 minutes in them where they can turn this around. I think that's been the biggest job that future Bok coach Shaun Dobson has done well. And
you're banging that drum hard, eh?
Hard. And I just think that it's a testament to the side they're on, which I feel like, I know they play the Harlequins, but for me, it looks like a side that can go back to back in the URC, make a deep playoff run in the Champions Cup, and I feel like I'll give the Stormers enough praise for a lifetime. But this might be one of the best Stormers outfits we've probably ever seen, and it's really good to see the confidence levels they back each other, and it does feel like a next man in, next man out. I mean, Dan du Plessis is cooking now, and then Marnie will cook. Yeah, who would have thunk? And then O'Shea Yankees looked like he was actually O'Shea Yankees sort of was good when he came off the bench, and he's sort of like Paul de Vet. So they got depth. They're known to win. It's a really great outfit at the moment.
For me, I think the Stormers. I think Dobbo desperately needs Yanchis to carry on growing in terms of his form, and he needs de Vet fit. I think those two nines are vital for the Stormers. I think Stefan Unger is a class player. He's just a little scratchy at the moment. But I just had a quick look at the Stormers' journey to their journey from now until they play Quins in the round of 16 in the Champions Cup. They've got Ulster away this weekend. They then have Bulls away. So that's a derby. It's a grudge match. Is it? Sorry.
Is the Bulls not a grudge derby? Is that what you're asking?
No. I'm just making sure that I got the dates right. So yeah, they've got the Bulls at Loftus. Then they've got the Sharks in Cape Town, and then they play Leinster away. So they're 4 massive games for the Stormers before they play Harlequins in a once-off playoff game in the round of 16 of the Champions Cup. This month, this period, the next 4 or 5 games for the Stormers are season defining for them, because they're going to be Springboks coming and going. There's going to be changes. Obviously, there will be, unfortunately, an injury here and there. But to play Ulster, Bulls, Sharks, Leinster, and then have to be prepared for Quins, there are going to have to be some decisions made by Dobbo in terms of personnel, who's playing what, when, and how.
Yeah, and how do you... It seems like from what we understand that pretty much after this weekend's game and looking at the Stormers, their squad for this weekend, it doesn't seem like a lot of the first choice Springboks are going to fly over to Ulster this weekend. So from this weekend, the likes of Kitsoff, Malherbe, and David Willemse will be resting up for next month, or at least until middle of March. So if that is going to be happening, and obviously that's enforced rest for those players, then I think the Storms will try to just get to flow, to just sort of tread water up until they can get to that Harlequins game. So I wouldn't really expect seeing Stephen Kitsoff, especially, and up until that game against Harlequins probably, and Damien Willemse the same, because the Stormers have been not like the Bulls who've been rotating their players in and out. The Storms have pretty much played Kitsoff and Willemse at each and every game the last few weeks. So I don't think they have much of a choice but to, rest them now throughout this enforced period of rest. But luckily, injuries worked out for them, because now they do have Evan Roos for the next few weeks, and they do have Sasha Mgomezulu for the next few weeks, and they do have Herschel Yankees for the next few weeks. So it's a good opportunity for some of those players to see who the next men up are, because just like Shaun said, who would have thought Dan du Plessis would be a hero for the Stormers, but who also would have thought Jean-Luc du Plessis would have been a hero for the Stormers? Him and Herschel Yankees coming on in the second half completely changed the game.
Thala, you mentioned obviously you said we're likely to see the Boks, like the Willemses, back for the Harlequins game, and which means they'll miss the Leinster game. Do you think Johnny Sexton and Damien Willemse are going to be holidaying together in Italy, or do you think they're doing separate travel plans, or what do you think the vibe there is going to be?
I wonder if Warwick Geland will call up his old friend Gaza and see if he can pull in Johnny Sexton for a weekend, maybe in Saint Tropez, or those sort of like beach holiday places in Europe.
Imagine
I feel like
backline.
Oh, jeez.
Imagine Sexton, Willemse, and Geland in a backline. Even if they're playing touch rugby on the beach.
But which Geland? Is it the haters captain Geland, or the nice one? Because if it's the one with the fighting the haters Geland, then that's World Rugby Player of the Year stuff in that backline.
He's great. I love his social media. Listen, Warwick Geland's also the only pro player that actively uses the hashtag Saffers Abroad. So that's a great place to be in. We need more of the guys and girls that are playing overseas to use it, so we can follow these legends. Sorry, thought I'd just drop that in there.
I just hope that he doesn't now use either the podcast or the Saffers Abroad hashtag as motivation as well. I'm sure he'll be referring to us as haters in the next few weeks.
Oh, he definitely knows, because we have been the number one supporters of Boogie, so he can't now come and say that we're part of the haters crew.
Listen, just for the record, both of you are backtracking here. I have the whole way said he's great. You were the one who like, oh, which one? So Boogie, just so you know, Kooks was trying to find reverse in his comments there. I still got you.
It's only because he makes fun of my picks whenever I talk about football, so that's why I want to get one back on him.
Oh, nice. Definitely. This is going to be fun.
Everyone makes fun of your football picks and your football team right now. Anyway, moving on.
That was so uncalled for.
It was a drive-by. Shaun, what's the one matchup in the Stormers Harlequins, the one individual matchup you're most looking forward to?
Oof. I actually, it's so boring, but I'll pick a back and a forward. I definitely want to see Ruan Nel up against Joe Marchant, especially considering what's going to be happening at 12. So, like, you can't have a 13 play exceptionally well if your 12 isn't. So I think that midfield is going to be crazy. And then I definitely, the front rows, I want to see Kitshoff and everyone just having a full front on go, because it's going to be about the scrums. I want Joe Marler have a little bit of banter. I want, I could name a lot, because there's really so much going on in both those sides at the moment. But for me, Ruan Nel and Joe Marchant, that battle at 13, even if it's not Marchant, if he's up in the England squad, which he might get a recall for, but he will be released for Champions Cup, obviously. But I think Ruan Nel up against the 13 at Quins, whoever's playing, is going to be great, because he's vital for the Stormers. But I think he's starting to force a lot of cracks in the opposition.
Kooks, I'm sure you're only looking at one matchup, which is Marty Lebok against Marcus Smith.
Yeah, I mean, that's my one. That's going to be great to watch. But I'm actually going to prove you wrong. I was not eyeing that one. In 2023, I'm advanced now. I'm still a forward. So I still gotta appreciate the guys up front. For me, it's Evan Roos and Alex Dombrandt. I think that's going to be massive. Two big ball carriers. I think,
and cut from the same cloth as well.
100%. So I think with those two, they sort of set the tone. Whoever has a good game there will sort of that could arguably be the side that wins it. I mean, that's going to be an epic battle.
Yeah. Another one to put forward as well is Will Evans against Deon Fourie. Just two crazy turnover monsters that just seem to get at least 3-4 turnovers a game at this point. So I think they'll have quite a big battle between them, and it'll just be the battle of the quick ball, I think, between these two sides. And I actually wouldn't mind seeing Damian Willemse playing at midfield against Andre Esterhuizen, but he probably plays at fullback. So it'll be Dan du Plessis against Andre Esterhuizen. And this Dan du Plessis is playing really well. Geez, I think that actually might be a decent matchup for Andre Esterhuizen for the last 16 games. So yeah, there's a lot of things to look forward to in the DHL derby, as they're calling it now.
Watch this game in 6-6 or 6-9. Like to the best
rainy Cape Town.
Yeah, exactly. Like rain in Cape Town, wind, just like it's in the next week when the Stormers play the Cardiff Blues. It sun's out, like you know, rugby does. Like it's gonna happen. Like, oh man, like I can see it happening already. Like it's just like it might have to like move to like a dome, like they do in the NFL. Like just find a way, like move it to the Forsyth Bar Stadium in the Islanders. Just put there. Like,
that was
the fans. The fans need to see the teams cook. Just put the one of the roof in Dunedin. Just bend the rules there for a bit.
That dome comment was so triggering. Yeah, my Buffalo Bills losing against good old Joburg and him
That's exactly why I said it, Thala.
Cincinnati.
That's exactly why I said it.
I appreciate that, Kooks. I appreciate that. I can always count on you to be this person. So actually, quick shout out that I want to make to the traveling Clermont fans. So I was actually at the stadium on Saturday, and a sizable group of them traveled down to the match in Cape Town. I mean, look, it's not a difficult choice to travel to Cape Town for the weekend. I would say there were about maybe 80 to 100 of them there. They were singing when Clermont scored. They were they did the French national anthem in the middle of the game. They stayed at the end and clapped off the Clermont team. Like, yeah, this is great. I mean, this really felt like a bit more of a European tie. And I think, obviously it's difficult for European fans to travel all the way to South Africa in their numbers, but if we can at least have a good traveling away contingent in these games, then this will be all worth it. So it was so great having that atmosphere added to the DHL stadium.
We and by we, I mean the South African sides and SA Rugby, we do exceptionally well to get the French traveling fans down here. And I think this is something that needs to happen moving forward in the Champions Cup, where the South African teams, we have there's blocks of 2 weeks of games that we have 2 weeks of games at home, and then the next block is 2 weeks of games away. Imagine we're playing someone, let's say the Stormers are playing, and it so works out that they're playing Toulon at home 1 week, and the next week they're playing, say, Montpellier or La Rochelle. We would get a group of French fans down, a sizable group that would stay for 2 weeks. It would be, and the singing and everything is incredible. Like, that is one thing that the South African fans don't experience. I've never experienced it live, any rugby in France. I've watched a fair bit of it on TV. It's incredible. And that's obviously home ground stuff, which, but everyone loves a tour. And I think that we would do exceptionally well to somehow, if all the chips fall in place, to do something like that and have them down, have like 30,000, or maybe it's a bit much, maybe 10,000 French fans down for 2 weeks. It would be quite incredible.
Yeah, I need to also just call out our fellow countrymen. Kooks, I think you need to lead this. We need more songs or just something that we do in the stadium, except for the Mexican wave and ole, ole, ole. I mean, goodness. I mean, I know the likes of the Guijo Squad and Umbumbo are trying to change the atmospheres in the stadiums, but it was it was really bad that, the Clermont fans were singing something and all we could do was Stormers. I mean, goodness, man. Like, we need to, I don't know what we need to do, but this URC European money, we need to get it together so we can actually get some proper fan atmosphere in our stadiums.
No, I agree with you. Anything that doesn't involve Sister Bettina or Sweet Caroline or Galagata playing, anything to avoid that. But you are right. It's like we these games, we need some chants, we need some songs. We need to, I feel like we need to go to remember when you're in school, your singing practice every Friday. I think that's what we as supporters, what we need to do. The team should come on a Wednesday. Listen, all fans, please come and meet. Or you get to the ground early. You have to. You need to come sing for about an hour before the game starts. So you can practice some songs or get a hymn book or do something, because all right, you sort of do need that vibe on it, because you can't be Stormers or defense.
Sing. If everyone sings songs together, you get free entry.
Yeah, yeah. Because you're right. We need we need to spice it up, and we need to spice it up, and we can't let Sister Bettina win. We cannot let Sister Bettina win.
The war against Sister Bettina starts on this podcast, and Sister Bettina must watch out, because Kooks says cursed Australia to damnation with some of his previous curses as well. So they better watch its step.
Sorry, it has to go. So I was on mute. It has to go. I'm just saying, now he plays after the national anthem in the box play. How do you go from the national anthem to Sister Bettina? I just some songs have got to go. Galagata, it belongs to Shaun Pollock. He's got to take it and walk away with it. And Sister Bettina, it needs to rest. And Sister Sweet Caroline, I'm tired of saying touching hands. I'm tired now. I am tired.
I tell you, every South African's having live sport flashbacks when that happens. I mean, what Western Province versus the Blue Bulls at Newlands in the Currie Cup in 1932, wasn't that still playing then?
I'm sure ridiculous. Touching You has been playing at every Currie Cup match since the 1890s or whatever, whenever Sir Donald Currie donated that trophy. Goodness. Let's do a 3 minutes prediction of the rest of the Champions Cup. So, Kooks, I think I'll have to do it with you. I think Shaun has just stepped out. So we're going to try to predict the whole URC, and then we'll be we are predicting this. Okay, so it's going to be very quick. Instincts, don't try to rationalize it. Leinster, Ulster?
Leinster.
Okay. And then Leicester versus Edinburgh?
Ooh, I'm going to go Leicester.
At home, that is.
Leicester at home,
Leicester Tigers at home. Toulouse versus the Bulls?
Oh, sorry, Tana. I'm going to go Toulouse here.
No, I can't argue with that. The Sharks against Munster.
Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry.
The Sharks.
Sharks.
Okay. Exeter versus Montpellier. Exeter at home.
Oh, I'm gonna go upset.
I say Montpellier.
I say Montpellier as well.
I think they're gonna kick themselves up in gear. They're lucky to qualify for the last 16, but I think they'll turn it up.
Well, Exeter have any players left the way they're going at the moment.
I think they'll have to donate or loan some from the MLR. I think that's the next option.
There? Like, why are so many guys leaving? Like, I haven't checked. Is it like it's the Exodus? I mean, like, I just every time I blink, there's an extra cheese player leaving again.
I think it's a salary cap, but I also think it's just the end of an era. I think players have sort of all gone together. They've won everything. And now they're taking big and better opportunities abroad. So, yeah, it's just unfortunate that it's all happening all at one time. And hopefully, for Exeter's sake, they may hopefully have like good youngsters coming through. Or I'm also suspicious that it might be, they might know something about where the cup is and their finances that the rest of us don't. So hopefully that's not the case.
Or maybe they don't want to play championship rugby like the Saracens did. I mean, they just give two shits about the youngsters at the stage. It's just like we're gonna ride this wave and we'll go back now anyway.
Okay, so that is Montpellier, and then Stormers versus Harlequins.
Oh, Stormers at home. I'm gonna go Stormers in a cracker.
Okay, and then La Rochelle against Gloucester.
Where's the game? Oh, La Rochelle. Where's the game?
Yes,
Gloucester at home.
At La Rochelle.
No, La Rochelle.
And then the last one, Saracens at home against Ospreys.
Oh, shame. Sorry, Alan Jones, but I wanted to go for fans.
Okay. Then, according to your predictions, the quarterfinals will be, the first one is Leinster versus Leicester at Dublin.
Leinster.
And then the second one is Toulouse versus the Sharks in France.
Do you know what? I'm going to go Sharks.
Oh, I would definitely not. I would not say that. I would definitely say Toulouse. I think they're going to make a big run.
It's 51-49, my heart, but I'm going to go Sharks.
Okay. We'll keep Sharks there. Montpellier against the Stormers. Montpellier playing, I think it would actually be the Stormers playing at home because they're the highest seed.
I'm going to go Stormers.
If it's at home, then I'm also going Stormers. And then La Rochelle versus Saracens is almost worthy of a final in itself.
So worthy of a final of itself.
La Rochelle at home.
Oh, I think Saracens go to France and get the job done.
Oh, okay. I probably would go La Rochelle. But let's go with your predictions. So then the semi-final will be Leinster versus the Sharks in Dublin. And then the Stormers versus Saracens. Oh, no French teams in this. Kooks doesn't like the French. So Leinster versus the Sharks in Dublin.
They're hosting the World Cup. They'll be fine.
Fair enough.
Leinster.
Okay, so Leinster goes to the final. They have not left Dublin since... Johnny Sexton has not left Dublin since like February at this stage.
Yeah, just basically living the dream.
And then the Stormers... Oh, it doesn't actually matter because we can't host semi-finals. So then it would be La Rochelle hosting the semi-final against the... Oh, sorry, Saracens hosting the final against the Stormers.
Oh, I'm going for URC final, Leinster with Stormers.
Ooh, okay. So you think the Storms can do it on the AstroTurf? And then
100%. And then I think Leinster to win it.
Okay, then Leinster wins it in Dublin. Hopefully, at least for Johnny Sexton's sake, that won't be the only bit of silverware that he takes this season.
So how did they decide for the final? Was it always going to be in Dublin?
Yeah, so they allocated to a different host. It's like the Champions League in football.
Those sneaky bastards. They knew exactly what they were doing.
I remember when
it's put in Italy or something. You know what I mean? Like at least like put in Italy. Like don't like it's going to be in Dublin and like cool. There's no powerhouse side. They play rugby in the Viva Stadium. Like okay, it's like saying the K-Cup final each year is going to be either in the Shark Tank or Loftus. Like okay, like it's going to be green now. If they were brave, they put the final in Kimberley. Come on, man. If they're really brave.
Yeah, that will probably kick us out of the Champions Cup if we put it in Kimberley.
What do you think would happen?
Chance.
Like what do you think the outdraw would be if the African side wins the URC first go and then we go win the European Cup in the first go as well, and like still was cheated with the Challenge Cup?
We're going to have our own Curry Cup because there's no chance they're going to let us stay in this competition.
No, 100%. I'm like, sorry guys, thanks for coming. Like, this is done now.
They're going to probably like pack our matches so that we have to like fly up and down from South Africa to Europe every week.
And you have to play as you land. Immediately as you land. you have 2 hours to get the game and kick off. Like that'll be the new stipulation.
We'll have a Friday match and then a Tuesday match.
Yeah, Craven Week style. You have 1 day's rest.
No, I think for our sakes, we should not push the button, especially if we want to get into the Six Nations. Like, just at least make as if we're struggling, and then later you can start coming into the competition.
Yeah, 100%. Like, doesn't need to come and dominate both competitions. We can't have imagine then URC, SF, both SS sides in it, then Champions Cup 2 SS sides in it as well. And in Dublin as well. And we're gonna play that game in Dublin on top of it all.
No, we need to just tread our steps carefully. For what it's worth, my prediction is a Leinster-La Rochelle final and Leinster winning it over La Rochelle after beating Toulouse in the semi-final.
That is a tasty affair. I'm just worried about Leinster in terms of going into form. I mean, listen, if they're unbeaten for the entire season, that is arguably the greatest club achievement ever. Like, to go unbeaten for that long, and I mean, I definitely think they can do the double, but I just can't see a side beating them at the moment. They're absolutely cooking at the moment, and it's without Sexton, and now Ross Byrne is trying to be the European Cup coach. I don't know. He kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think the Ross Byrne 15 is definitely going to be playing a lot more URC in the next few weeks. And they're going to try to do the double squad thing and hopefully just not take the Bulls as lightly as they did maybe in the semi-final like they did last year. I think the draw's opening it up for them, and I think it'll be very decisive who wins between Leinster and Toulouse in a potential semi-final. Even Leinster Sharks if the Sharks manage to get through Toulouse. And then that other side of the draw, I can't see La Rochelle not losing to anyone, even Saracens or even the Stormers. If the Stormers could host every game in Cape Town, I would definitely predict them. I think they basically have the best home advantage in the world.
Yeah, 100%. Considering a year ago, they couldn't win a game in that stadium.
No, they've sorted everything out. The grass doesn't cut up, every scrum. People can run with the ball. They've got everything sorted now. 2 more things, Kooks, before we wrap up. Did you see the photos from the Six Nations launch this morning?
I did, and it looked like shame. The poor captains looked like that was the very last place they wanted to be. I know, obviously, on Farrell is still knee deep in tackle school at the moment, so I'm sure he's not in a good space at all. I mean, no one has going to you remember those Monday morning lectures, Tyler, at 7:45. So that's where he gets space. Could have stayed in 45 class from tackle school straight into a photo shoot. Those folks did not look happy. I was like, guys, do you want us to be excited for the Six Nations? What are we doing here? We don't be excited. We won't be excited. You guys don't even look keen to be playing Six Nations.
I think Faz definitely has the look of someone that has a test tomorrow but has to attend something the day before. Seems like, I don't know if he's going to be able to finish up all his studying for the exam for tackle school.
No, I don't think so as well. Because the thing is, apparently this year the first question is what you call it, the leading with the shoulder. So I'm worried about Faz somewhat. As long as he gets 50%, he's available against Scotland. That's all they care about. Just get out of tackle school.
All he needs to get is 50%. So the captains looked like they would be rather anywhere else in the world. The coaches, I think the one notable person was Fabien Galtier coming with the drip there with the sneakers and the sunglasses.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. He got to make a statement like, listen, guys, I'm the defending champ, so I'm not going to do this formal shoes. Do you think Gats probably walking there like, oh, not this shit again? They're like, no man, Gats, you've been gone for 3 years. Like, what are you doing? What do you mean?
Warren Gatland hasn't worn a suit in New Zealand probably ever. So this must be so irritating for him.
His last suit was the Lions tour. This is the very last time he wore a suit. But I must say, it was quite interesting seeing. When I saw Gats there, I was like, yeah, Wales is. It just feels like Wales is a different outfit now. Just seeing him in all those coaches, I'm like, yeah, okay, Wales is like, it just feels different now. I mean, when Pivek was tried, but you sort of like, it just didn't stand out there. Now with Gats, so you're like, yeah, this Welsh outfit is. It's you see them in a different light now with Gats there.
It always looked like Wayne Pivak was like a fake Warren Gatland, and like he almost looked like him, but he wasn't quite him. Like even with the coaching as well. Yeah,
and it's like he's also a Kiwi, and it's like he's just like he tried to be Gats, but he wasn't Gats. And then now Gats comes back, you can see Gats looks like he's got that swagger back as well. Like the last time I was in the competition, I also won a Grand Slams. Like I won the whole thing, so like don't worry about me. I know what I'm doing. But I must say I'm very excited for the Six Nations this year.
Yeah, Shaun, just quickly, what's your opinion on Fabien Galtier's sneakers?
Oh man, he was rocking it. And the best part about it is all the old farts around him were like, oh, what's he wearing? And Fabien Galtier was like, you know nothing. Oh no. And it wasn't just the white sneakers. I mean, he had the sunnies on, and just the way he was standing, he was like, yeah, this is my trophy. Come and get it.
Guys, do you think Andy and Owen talk to each other in these things? Like, what's the interaction between these two in these like formal gatherings?
I definitely think it's just like Andy Farrell, Owen Farrell looks like a sort of guy where Andy would be like, hey son, how you doing? And Owen Farrell would just like walk straight past him and just like, I'll see you like on the 24th of February, old man. Like, then like for the age, like, hey, did you hear that? And then like when he gets home, and like, hey dad, I had a shoot today. How was your day? You're like, my man, we're in the same place. We're at the same shoot. What do you mean I was at the shoot today? And like, you just walk past me. He's like, sorry, I was in work, mom. Sorry, dad.
I was going to have a laugh, but Owen Farrell's definitely two different people. He gets to completely like close off that personal side and then pack it away so far away. And then his 100% of his being is work. You can see it on a rugby field. I love it. But when you asked that, I'm like, I would absolutely love it if he walks up. I was like, hey dad, how are you? Hugs. Like have a coffee, chat, laugh, like you know what I mean? Like the arm around the shoulder. Okay, guys, can you just split up in your teams? No, it's cool. Just give me a second. And everyone's waiting for them, and the two are having a yarn over there.
And you can't say anything about it because it's like father and son. You can't be like, hey, can you just hurry up? You're like, I'm catching up with my son. Like, do you think for Christmas, Owen Farrell asked his dad, like, hey, like how does the Sexton loop work? Like, I don't want new airports to tell me how the Sexton loop works. That's what I want for Christmas, Dad. I want anything up from you.
Yeah, he won't get that secret.
Or better yet, imagine the two of them in a corner, and then like both of them are making like rugby moves and steps as if they're discussing tactics or something, just to really everyone just having like a mind melt.
I definitely think it's a no rugby talk when they're both home, like the wives and the moms, like there's no rugby talk in this house until, because I can definitely picture them too, like sitting with a few beers at like 2 a.m. trying to solve all rugby's problems without giving away secrets as well.
Listen, from a complete fanboy point of view, imagine the conversations that they'd be having. Like, imagine having a beer around a braai with the two of them while they're discussing the Springboks or the All Blacks.
Oh, like, it must be incredible.
Because they'll both be, they're pulling out like their own rugby IQ, but they're also pulling out IQ out of two top international nations where they've got collective groups of people working on stuff. Imagine having that conversation and like it's deep in the bush in the Kruger somewhere, it's Kukuza or somewhere, and there's a massive fire going on. You're having a couple of beers and the two of them are explaining how the best way to unravel the Springbok defense would be. I think that would be insane.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, those two as defense coaches, I think would be amazing. I mean, Owen Farrell just sharing all that knowledge from tackle school would be amazing for the team.
Thanks.
But one more thing. Well, actually, one more thing to say about these photos is at least they invite all the captains to the photos, unlike the rugby championship.
Sheesh. Shots fired. What was the story behind that? Like, they were in Australia and
Why
they just...
years?
No, I missed that. I knew the first time they didn't invite the Argentinians and for a photo shoot, or that wasn't the photo that made the mainstream news or something. And they did it again last year. Wow. Chaker's going to just take that and go, thanks, gents. I have lots of fuel now. I will use it to whatever need I need.
I assume Julien Montoya called someone the P word and then they just didn't invite him to things again.
Like, you know what, like these guys come here, they eat all our steaks. Like, he's in working come for a photo. Like, we'll see them in a couple of weeks' time.
Montoya is brilliant with his chips. I'm loving the South African he whips out there.
He tore Jamie Ritchie to shreds. Like, I looked at him now, this captain's photo, and I'm like, I can't respect you the same that I did. Like, Montoya just told you that you are just nothing to him.
Oh man, he did, eh? And the best part is, wasn't that Richie's first game captaining, or his first big game as captain, or whatever the case may be? And you can just see that Richie was like blah blah blah. He was like on top of the food chain in his world. And Montoya's like, it's coming, buddy. The fall is coming. So I'm just going to sit here and wait for it because you've given me all the ammo. And I'm just going to load everything. And then when you fall, I'm going to kick you when you're down. And boom, he fell. And he was like, off you go, buddy. Didn't he tell him, he's like go head off or something? That's not how you captain or something like that.
That's how he said his yellow card was his first contribution to the game. Which, it's quite cutting.
Oh, brilliant.
So the last thing I want to ask Kooks about, and sure, just to update you, Kooks has predicted that Leinster will run away with the Champions Cup. I don't know if you have any reaction to that.
Away. Oof.
He said it's the easy game. They'll just put 50 on everyone with Rossbird.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm interested to see what will happen when Leinster are under pressure, and that's only going to come in a few games' time. So we'll only be able to see it then. However, Leinster are that one side, along with the Crusaders of that era and the Saracens of that era, that that if they can train a level above under pressure, even though they're absolutely killing everyone, they will train in that level of what happens if we played against ourselves and we were put under pressure. Leinster probably that side. But being a World Cup year and all, with how players are managed and what is going on, I don't think that they're going to have it all their own way.
Let's see what happens. And then, Kooks, the last question is, have you bought your tickets yet for Lions versus Racing in Johannesburg?
I haven't. But I'm cancelling everything on that day. I'm going to all the practices for race. If Finn Russell's not playing that weekend, there's going to be you thought I was angry with the test match on a Thursday. You will see levels of anger. Or like
I love the way you say Thursday, specifically when referring to that test match, because the way that you pronounce Thursday is completely different to a regular way you pronounce Thursday, and we know exactly it's about the test match. But do you know, I have bad news for you. It's a Challenge Cup game, and I have a funny feeling Racing are going to be sending the Espoirs through, and you are probably closer to Finn Russell now than you will be during that game in Johannesburg.
Finn Russell's toddlers coming to that game, not Finn Russell.
And the worst part is like I don't know what I did to the rugby gods. Like you tell, like I've been fighting the Finn Russell fight on my own, and then now like he's gonna be in Joburg, and he's not gonna be there. At least come and like be the water boy. I've got my phone ready. I've got cameras ready. I've got video cameras ready. I need pictures. I need videos. I just need to see Finn Russell. I don't think I'll see the game because I think like you throw one pause, I'll probably just like faint. And you just like wake up and like you missed the entire game.
And the match is over.
The match is over. I feel like maybe go on my own actually. Like I'll be in tears. I'm about like 3 seats. Like I'll sit in the middle, like stay the other two, and just be like, I need to enjoy this. I need to, just in case I cry or just anything happens.
Shaun, didn't you say Supersport will definitely like allocate him some sort of like rugby derby or something like that?
No, yeah, the Yixgay World Champs in Kimberley. It's actually on that weekend. Cooks, that's his first, that's his like his step up into the big time of like he's going to be running everything. He's going to be running the whole show. Like he's going to be producing it. He's going to be running interviews and podcasts. He's even going to have a say. You know what I mean? Like one of those situations. I don't know what I'm talking about. So anyone involved in the industry, I sound like an idiot. So I apologize. But Cooks is going to be. He's going to have budget to put like the most micro cameras on little places. So he's going to get the most unseen footage of Yixgay ever known to man. And that's actually on the same weekend.
It will happen. There's like an 80% chance. I actually think I just like as this podcast ends, I'm gonna send a mail to work and be like, whatever happens, can I be in Joburg? Can I get tickets first and foremost? Like, can I get tickets where I'm allowed to sit on the halfway line with Finn Russell to kick off? Like, he's gonna bounce the ball like next to me. Like he's gonna be like, can you please move? So I get to kick off. I'm like, hey man, I bought these seats. I can't move. You can kick around me. Like that's the sort of tickets I need.
I have an even worse situation for you, mate. What happens if like there's something going on in Joburg and you are literally standing next to Ellis Park while the game is on and you can't even hear it because you're busy working in the B field. On the B field.
Yeah,
covering the under-9 superstar that's going to be like World Player of the Year in 2041 or something.
Shaun, like, I don't know what I did to you. I don't know why you're trying to describe the most amount of pain. For me, it's like that I could go, or like it could be like I could be away for work, and then as I get to the office, I'll be like, oh, by the way, Finn Russell was here. He did a press conference. You just missed it.
Or your flight is delayed and you miss it. Your Uber's like giving you the middle finger.
I would probably be arrested from that flight because I'll cause them mayhem.
We'll sort something out for you. We make plans. We make it happen.
Of course, what is it? But wait, guys, before we go, I'll tell you a funny. Shaun, Thala, you mentioned the penalty count in the Sharks game. I'll tell you a funny story that happened last year. A friend of mine at Woodridge, coaches at Woodridge in the 13A side, so they played against Kingswood in Grahamstown. So the penalty count, so obviously Woodridge lost at 13As, bear in mind it's on the 13As. The penalty count was 14 to Woodridge and 0 to Kingswood. They went through the entire game without conceding a single penalty. Not one penalty.
Oh my word.
By the way, the ref was a Kingswood
of course. That's classic schoolboard rugby. Schoolboard rugby.
That is incredible discipline. That's the opposite of what the Sharks did. The Sharks did to find that tape of that game and then like ask them to stay in the 13s and be like, listen, this is how you prevent giving away 18 penalties. We didn't give away a single one. So Sharks, please learn from us.
So we need to get that coach from Kingswood.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
I must tell you, I know I popped it on the group, but I've been listening to this podcast today from Bloke in a Bar where he's interviewing Quade Cooper. Now, Bloke in the Bar, I'm not too familiar with him because he runs NRL stuff. So we obviously South Africans and league we like oil and water most of the time. I know we have a national side, but league is not something that we're all very much familiar with. But Quade Cooper's interviewed. It's an incredible podcast. Like just on the thing, I'm straight up. I'm quite a big fan of Quade Cooper. I love what he brings to the game. I've followed him on social media channels for as long as I possibly can. But I've always thought there was something more to it, and there's more things happening. And that whole Richie McCaw incident, and you know. He goes through his whole life story of what happened, why it happened, and he's brutally honest about the decisions he made, but also what he was thinking at the time of that Richie McCaw incident, of what happened, the decisions he made when he left Queensland and all that sort of stuff. So please go listen. But the one thing he does talk about, when you talk about like a team and you've got to play like this to do something different, like not concede penalties. He talks about playing club rugby in Australia and how the coach decided that they will not, they'll keep the ball alive. They will not ruck. So essentially what they did is they worked out that there were about 50 rucks a game or something like that in their club league. And they were like, we need to work this as low as possible. And he said that what it did was when there's a ruck, it allows teams to set up defense, because everything is like, what do you do at a ruck? You have a pillar and a post and you fan out and you do this and you do that and you work out on what the pods are coming and what's happening. He said, but what they did was they reduced rucks. So they always looked for the offload. They always looked to keep the ball alive and therefore absolutely destroy the defensive setup of the opposition. And he said that they were scoring regularly 40 to 50 points a game because the other team were A, tired, and B, just didn't have any idea defensively.
That is so crazy. I think Great Cooper should become a coach. I mean, that's the way to go now.
Mate, I would love it. I'm sorry, but you must listen to this podcast. It's Bloke in a Bar, Quade Cooper. We shared it on Rugby Bits, and I put it in the put it in our WhatsApp group. And I know we spoke about it beforehand. Just listen to it. Listen to the honesty. Listen to the decisions that he's made and what he thinks about them and his motivation. It's mind blowing. He will be a great coach. I think he'll be a great people person, but I think he also sees parts of the game that many other people don't see, and he's got the skills to execute as well.
Yeah, I think that's very good product for that. And I think he has a lot of homework to trackers, because you also have that BBC Rugby Show podcast to listen to Danny Kerr moan about the Georgian referee as well. We will wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Shaun and Cooks for joining. I think we have wrapped up a lot of good rugby this week, and we are also excited to let you know that we are trying to start our Six Nations series on the individual teams as the build-up for the Six Nations. So hopefully we'll be releasing those podcasts during the course of the next few days and weeks. And thank you so much to everyone listening to the Rugby Bits podcast. Please subscribe and drop a 5-star rating, or like the podcast, or share it with everyone so that we can share this with the rest of the rugby world. We will see you in the next podcast.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone.